Hi, Gemini. I hope that you had a wonderful week and that if I haven't already in the past convinced you to drink nettle infusion, that I lit the fire under your desire for nettle there.
Absolutely. I've been drinking it since one of our first few shows.
Yes, it's hard to get Susan Reed to be quiet about nettle infusion. Every opportunity she gets, she says you should drink nettle infusion. And I just have to say that everybody who does says, I'm so glad you told me to do that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So here we are at week 12 in our 3-month series, Have a Healthy Heart, the Wise Woman Way. And we got to look at diabetes, and then we got to look at all the kind of heart-healthy supplements that are out there and just pull it together into a nice package. And I do want to mention again that what we've been doing here over the past 3 months, although it has been lavish and it has been wonderful, is really just the tip of the iceberg of the amount of information I have on having a healthy heart the Wise Woman Way. And that's why I am offering it at the Wise Woman University as a 3-unit course. There's no time limit of any kind on your taking this course. It's a wonderful interactive forum where you can talk with other students who are doing this. And we have a wide variety of very interesting people taking the course at this point. Quite a few people who have serious heart problems and are very unhappy with the drugs that they're taking and moving into integrative medicine. That's what this has been about. And this has not been about saying, oh, everything that the doctors do is bad. No. If what's really needed is a stent, then maybe a stent is what's needed. If what's really needed is a coronary artery bypass graft, then maybe that is the thing to do. But what we have been opening up for you is the fact that there are a great many herbs and foods that are as effective as the drugs. None of them are as effective as the surgical interventions, and depending on where you are, you may need those, but you can get healthier even after you have those. However, what we still need to talk about is type 2 diabetes. It's not something that's found in indigenous groups. Occasionally, in an indigenous group, in a hunting-gathering society, occasionally we get somebody who does have type 1 diabetes, and we think that that's an autoimmune reaction. And that autoimmune reaction just basically kills the pancreas. And the pancreas doesn't make insulin anymore. And those people do not live really long lives. And certainly herbs can help keep them better, but now we have insulin, and we use that, and it's great. But type 2 diabetes is unknown in these kinds of cultures. I mentioned Weston A. Price, and he was, quite astonished at how few strokes, how few heart attacks, and how little diabetes there were among the populations that he was looking at. Our best guess right now is that type 2 diabetes is actually caused by a diet that contains lots and lots and lots of refined carbohydrates. And I have never been of the school that white sugar is an ultimate evil and that you should kick it completely out of your diet. I've often said that white sugar, the primary refined carbohydrate that we're talking about here, is in fact something that a good diet can include a little of. I still think that's true, although I must recognize the current studies which show that rats and mice will become as addicted to white sugar as they will to heroin, and will exhibit the same kinds of behaviors in attempts to get it. I'm hoping that in this case the animal model doesn't work for human beings, and that a little sugar now and then is not going to be that addictive. I do love dark chocolate, and let's face it, we're not going to be eating dark chocolate without sugar. But what we want to really look at is what's the normal American diet? How much refined carbohydrate is getting in there? Well, it's a lot. And it's interesting to me how that circles back, not just to diabetes, but to the heart. And there's a wonderful new book out, The Holistic Heart Book. And it's by Joel Kahn, Kahn. And he's written a little article about, okay, you're not going to stop grilling just because I tell you that grilling isn't good for your heart. I know that you're going to do that. But here's some things that you can do to make it healthier for your heart. And one of those things is to add whole grains or whole grain bread. In a Yale University study, when people ate bowls of oats or wheat with a high-fat meal, their arteries did not constrict as much. These grains actually reduce fat absorption into the body. And we also find that they are fabulous for helping to prevent and reverse type 2 diabetes. Flavonoid-rich foods are also critically important. Foods like chocolate, tea, and berries, again, have good science backing them up as ways to help prevent and to even moderate type 2 diabetes. Flavonoid-rich plants can be a regular part of your diet, and we can almost guarantee that you are going to have a less insulin resistance. In other words, your cells are going to accept insulin much more easily, and that you're going to have improved blood glucose regulation. In fact, women who consume the most flavonoids, especially anthocyanins found in elderberries, blackcurrants, cherries, and blackberries, have the least insulin resistance in their cells. In other words, the cells say, oh, insulin, yeah, give me some. We think that what's really going on in type 2 diabetes is that the pancreas is still making insulin, and the cells are resistant to it. They say, oh, yeah, I don't know, I don't want to let that in. And so the pancreas keeps pumping out more and more and more insulin, and eventually fails. The end result in both types of diabetes is that the pancreas isn't functioning. But with type 2 diabetes, we can kind of get in there beforehand and see what kinds of things can we do to help moderate these problems and therefore move on to a healthier heart. Here is a simple way to prevent or reverse type 2 diabetes. 1, increase the amount of time that you are active. A 15-minute walk after every meal is a great start. Whenever I'm working with a student who has been diagnosed as a pre-diabetic or is already type 2 diabetic, I absolutely insist that after we eat, we get up and we walk. 15 minutes is not very long, but it really changes how your body deals with insulin and glucose. In addition to a 15-minute walk after every meal, do one thing a day that leaves you breathless with your heart pounding. What is it going to be? Are you going to run, sprint, dance, bicycle, swim, laugh, have sex? Whatever it is, do something that leaves you breathless with your heart pounding. Perhaps that's climbing a mountain. Drink at least half a cup of nettle infusion or take 2 or 3 dropperfuls of tincture with every meal. Eat foods rich in flavonoids at every meal and as snacks. And remember that chocolate and tea are sources of flavonoids, so pretty easy to get some flavonoids in every time you eat. Cook and eat at home. Stop eating out. Diabetes-proof your pantry and your health in just a month. Week 1, phase out solid fats and vegetable oil and phase in olive oil. Extra virgin, please. Week 2, phase out refined sugar and all foods containing real or artificial sweeteners and phase in honey and maple syrup, like before when we were talking about eating organic meat and eating organic butter, and one of the benefits is that you eat less because it's quite expensive. Well, honey and maple syrup are more expensive than white sugar. And so usually what happens when we make the switch from white sugar to honey and maple syrup is that we eat less of it. So once again, we're getting health benefit in two distinct ways. Agave syrup, no. Agave syrup can really raise cholesterol. So stick with honey and maple syrup. And does it work in everything? It doesn't. You may not be able to make the cookies that you like best with this, but those cookies probably have white flour in them. Again, as we've been seeing, things are tied together. The white flour and the white sugar are frequently tied together. For all of us, refined carbohydrates lead to a less healthy life and a less healthy heart. But for people who are warding off diabetes, refined carbohydrates, which we think is what causes it, are just too much. Week 3, phase out fresh, dried, preserved, and canned fruit and fruit juice, and phase in frozen fruit. The sugars in fresh, dried, preserved, canned fruit and fruit juice, again, are too much for someone who's dealing with diabetes or trying to prevent diabetes. Week 4, phase out refined grains and all foods containing white flour and phase in whole grains. And there's so many wonderful whole grains: brown rice, quinoa, teff, kasha, amaranth. Explore and try out some of the different whole grains. I don't have anything against potatoes. Potatoes are just fine. But I suggest that people who are doing their best to use their diet to counter their diabetes ease back on the potatoes. Once, no more than twice a week for potatoes, and that includes all your meals. So if you've been a fried potatoes for breakfast and baked potatoes for dinner and mashed potatoes for lunch kind of person, this might be the harder thing that I'm suggesting here, is to reduce the amount of potatoes that you are eating and instead increase the amount of whole grains that you are getting in your diet. All right, what else? Drink only nourishing herbal infusions or home brewed tea. Get rid of the fruit juice, the bottled drinks, the soda, the diet soda, the vitamin water, the bottled tea, the energy drinks. You know what I am talking about. If you have to have your coffee, have your coffee. I'm not saying that you can't have your coffee, but if you can drink your nourishing herbal infusion when you get up in the morning instead of coffee, you'll like how your day turns out a whole lot better. Trust me on this one. I know it sounds kind of crazy. You're so used to the coffee. But once you move through that slight addiction that you probably have to the coffee and start replacing it with your nourishing herbal infusions, you'll wonder why you ever wanted that stuff in the morning at all. And if you feel you need some caffeine, then start your day with a nice cup of black tea. That's a good way to do it. And then my last suggestion for preventing and reversing type 2 diabetes is eat as much protein as you possibly can as early in the day as you can. That kind of standard American breakfast, eggs and bacon, is not a bad idea if you're someone who's dealing with diabetes. Now, okay, the bacon has far too much salt in it, that's for sure. And the bacon is a preserved meat, and that's not the best kind of meat to eat. But how could we make that better? How about eggs and fish for breakfast? You know, in many places throughout the British Isles, where I stayed in bed and breakfast there, that's exactly what I was offered for breakfast, was kippers and eggs. And I really grew to like starting my day with some small fish. What a wonderful thing to do with my heart. My heart is very happy when small fish are on the menu. Think about it. If we had a glass of nourishing herbal infusion, which is high in protein, and some kind of small fish, whether it's sardines or kippered herring or whether it's a smoked trout. Here in the Catskills, smoked trout is an easy fatty fish to get, or salmon. The effects of those omega-3 fatty acids on the heart are going to really improve our heart health, and the effects of the protein early on in the day are going to stabilize blood sugar levels. That whole grain toast or even beans. Beans are also rich in protein. Eggs and beans. When I'm down in Costa Rica, that's what we get for breakfast, right? It's eggs and beans and often some cheese on that. So again, we're loading the protein early in the day to maintain good, even blood sugar levels throughout the whole day. And avoiding those sweets in the morning. Right, avoiding them in our beverage in the morning, avoiding them in our cereal in the morning, avoiding them, right? Another kind of ordinary American diet would be French toast or pancakes. And what do we have there? Refined carbohydrate, low protein, lots of sweet. Even if you add fresh fruit to it, that's still more sweet. So we want to turn away from the cereals for breakfast. And we want to turn away from the fruit juices for breakfast and eat in what one of my friends calls reverse order. She says most people don't eat nearly enough for breakfast, and they don't eat nearly enough for lunch, and then they sit down and have an absolutely huge dinner and spend the rest of their day sitting in front of the television. She says it's so inappropriate. It doesn't fuel the body in the way the body needs to be fueled. She said what we want to do is turn that pattern on its head and put most of the food at the beginning of the day before we're going to do our work. And then our moderate meal at lunchtime, and then our lightest meal at dinner time. And then if you're going to sit at the computer or you're going to sit in front of the TV, you have nourished yourself appropriately for that. And that's the time for that sweet snack, if that's when you want it. And that can be your frozen fruit and some yogurt. Isn't that a wonderful thing? Or if you look around, I think you'll be able to find cookies that are actually made with whole grain ingredients and non-refined carbohydrates. All right, Susan. Let's get on to the more interesting topic of what things don't you recommend? Well, there are 3 herbs that are very frequently talked about in terms of heart health. Lily of the valley, foxglove, and cayenne. And I would not recommend that you use these at all. Yes, foxglove is probably the most famous herb when it comes to heart health. No question about it. The cardiac glycosides in foxglove are tremendously active. The problem is getting the right dose. And I have often mentioned before that there certainly is a place for finding the active ingredient in a plant and turning it into a drug. And foxglove is certainly an example that bears out this point. When foxglove was used just as a plant, and it's the leaves of the foxglove, people did die. Even touching a plant can cause headaches, nausea, and a fast-beating heart. This has some pretty potent glycosides, and they're most potent in the second year's leaf. And, of course, the drug made from them is digitalis. So digitalis is still used in medical practice, and it's a wonderful drug. And I've often heard the story of, that's how we came to understand that digitalis was effective because old women used to use this plant that was known as a poisonous plant. Leave it to the doctors is what I have to say about foxglove. Now, you could grow foxglove if you want to. They're awfully pretty flowers. But please don't make any herbal medicine out of it. It's just too dangerous. Cayenne. Well, I'm a little anti-pepper. And I'm anti-pepper because what I see is that pepper drives inflammation, certainly in my body and a great many other people's body. However, we must admit that cayenne is widely used and widely recommended, especially in terms of heart health. And a lot of that came from Dr. Christopher. Dr. Christopher is an herbalist who's no longer with us, but he did a huge amount to really restore herbal medicine as people's medicine, and I really honor him, although he's incredibly heroic. And just one example, he believed that cayenne dilates the blood vessels and that was really good for your heart. And so Dr. Christopher actually consumed powdered cayenne in water first thing every morning. He would put some apple cider vinegar in a glass of water and a spoonful of cayenne, and he would drink that down. Now, people have said that it's unfair for me to talk about how people die. I don't think it's unfair. I actually think that if you're out there talking about health, that people should be interested in how you die. You can certainly talk about how I die after I die. I'm not doing it yet, so you can't talk about it yet. But after I'm gone, hey, I think it's important. Yeah, that's Susun Weed. She talked about nettle all the time, you know. When she died, nettle sprung out of her ears. You know, who knows what'll happen. But this is what was interesting to me. Dr. Christopher was in a car accident. And the car accident didn't really cause life-sustaining injury, but the shock of the car accident caused him to have a heart attack, which I believe did kill him. And I can't swear to you that it wasn't because he took cayenne every day. In other words, I think that the inflammatory properties of the cayenne, sure, it dilates the blood vessels, but it also inflames things at the same time, that set him up for a shock, which then caused a wildfire to go through his cardiovascular system and trigger a heart attack. So I don't like the inflammatory properties of cayenne. I don't eat cayenne, and I don't recommend that people use cayenne. Lily of the Valley has long been known as a heart-active plant, and all parts of lily of the valley, including the flowers, contain steroid glycoside, which are heart-active drugs. Stabilized lily of the valley powder is approved by the German Commission E to treat arrhythmias, cardiac insufficiency, and nerve heart complaints. Folk medicine shows lily of the valley is able to counter paralysis after a stroke. Studies on lily of the valley find that it increases both the power and the speed of cardiac muscle contractions, and it reduces relaxation time. So the heart works better, it works more efficiently, it pumps that blood through in a much better way, and the lily of the valley slows down the heart rate. Therapeutic doses of lily of the valley can turn into overdoses. So I don't use lily of the valley. Now, if I lived in Germany and I could get stabilized lily of the valley powder, and I was dealing with somebody who had an arrhythmia, I might consider using that. But I don't live there. I live here. And I don't have good access to that. There are other things that I would use first, like skullcap or motherwort or lemon balm. As far as I'm concerned, the lily of the valley is, of the ones that we're talking about tonight, possibly the least dangerous. The PDR for herbs says The dangers of poisoning with the lily of the valley are relatively low with oral application because the glycosides are very poorly absorbed. Well, that's not the kind of safety information that makes me feel safe. I don't know how you feel about that, but to be told you don't have to worry about poisoning yourself with this poison because it's unlikely you'll absorb enough. What if I did absorb enough? And I know whenever I'm working with crude plant material that the amount of any substance in that is going to change from year to year. It's going to change depending on where it grows and how I prepare it. So I prefer to leave heart-active glycosides like those in lily of the valley alone. So those are 3 heart-active herbs that I don't use. Avoid supplements, too. Enough is enough. Stop wasting money on vitamin and mineral statements is a clear statement of the editor of the Annals of Internal Medicine, a prestigious journal, as they reported on 2 more studies that found no evidence that any supplement can prevent or treat cardiovascular disease. A meta-study pooled findings from 27 different studies involving almost 500,000 healthy people. Supplements with multivitamins, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D, selenium taken alone and in combination, and there was no difference in heart disease or mortality between those who took the supplements and those who didn't take the supplements. More than 1,700 older men in another study, and these are men who had already had a heart attack, were randomly assigned to take a supplement, a multivitamin supplement, or a placebo. After 4 years, there was no difference between the 2 groups in stroke, recurrent heart attacks, or other complications. In fact, no supplement, including fish oil, has been shown to help heart health as much as lifestyle choices. Spend your money on high-quality food. Spend your money on learning yoga, tai chi, or qigong. Spend your money on more time on the massage table. Spend your money on drinking nourishing herbal infusions. Your heart will thank you. Have you been hearing a lot of people telling you that you should take fish oil for heart health? Well, the message is certainly out there. I don't agree. Certainly, omega-3 fatty acids do help prevent and treat arrhythmias, blood clots, arterial damage, hypertension, inflammation, and elevated triglycerides. They're absolutely true. What's unclear is to how to go about getting those benefits. Omega-3 fatty acids are found in krill, fatty fish, seeds like flax seeds, and a few plants like purslane. So, shall we just get these things from our diet? Well, yeah. I do believe that the heart benefits far more from eating fish and seeds than from taking fish oil or flax oil. I just haven't seen that these are the things that improve heart health. And happily for me, there are a lot of studies to back up my belief, although there are also plenty of studies that seem to support the idea that taking omega-3 supplements is helpful. Krill oil is derived from tiny shrimp-like crustaceans found in the Antarctic. Krill and krill oil also contain astaxanthin, an antioxidant carotene which is 1,000 times more active than vitamin E in terms of quenching free radicals and calming inflammation. But human beings don't usually eat krill, It's whales who eat krill. And so I'm not so sure that taking a supplement of krill is something that I really want to do. Fish oil in capsules is derived from anchovies, sardines, salmon, cod, and tuna. However, all you have to eat is 2 4-ounce servings of any of these fish or mackerel or trout or any other fatty fish per week to get 2 grams of omega-3s. Wow, that's pretty good. That's as much as you're going to get from pills. I know that there are many constituents in foods that science has yet to isolate, name, and understand. If I take a supplement, I must understand I'm taking a partial food and partial nutrition. And my goal is to be a whole. So I prefer food. This is Susan Weed. I hope you have enjoyed our 3 months together here as we have explored a healthy heart, the wise woman way, as we have looked at foods, herbs, and lifestyle to keep our blood pressure at a good place, to reduce and counter inflammation, and to work with our cholesterol in a way that helps us be happy. So please enjoy your heart, because the heart is the place that we feel joy. Gemini and Time Monk Radio, thank you so much for helping me reweave the healing cloak of the ancients and helping us all reclaim herbal medicine as people's medicine. This is Susan Weed. Come and visit me at SusanWeed.com or drop by the Wise Woman Bookshop.com, where you can buy all of my books and learn more about my online course, Have a Healthy Heart, The Wise Woman Way. Good night, Gemini.
Thank you, Susan. This completes the final segment of our wonderful 12-part series, Healthy Heart, The Wise Woman Way, with Susan Weed at Time Monk Radio.